Hey there, this is Laura for Iron Times. Now this month we are in Vista, California, here to check out WYROC materials. We're going to be chatting a bit with WYROC President Jeff Halloran. So I was wondering, first off,
Yes.
why WYROC? What's the story behind that name?
My father was a cement salesman, and one of his clients was Wiley Brothers Transit Mix. And one of the brothers passed away, and the other brother wanted to sell. So my dad bought the company, got out of the cement business, and went to the ready-mix concrete business. And he shortened the name to Wiley Transit Mix, and then found that he'd have more opportunities and better market if he got out of the ready-mix business and focused just on supplying rock and gravel, and shortened the name to Wiley Rock, and eventually shortened that to WYROC. So he kept kind of the goodwill from Wiley over all the years. Plus it was kind of a tradition back then that a lot of the competitors and rock suppliers would have some kind of abbreviated word in the rock. As the company changed, we differentiated because we took the K off of it, so we're WYROC.
I was looking at your website and I noticed that the most unique thing that stood out to me is that you do work with recycled materials. So it's not the virgin rock, it's not the native rock. And you seem to be one of the few companies that does that.
Well, you know, we've transitioned into that over the years, and we were really one of the first in Southern California. And the last time they did a measure, we were number 3 in the nation in recycling. And to put a little bit of a scope to it, if you look at curbside recycling, we would recycle back in the day probably twice the amount that they would do through curbside recycling from North LA to the border to Mexico, and on the west, the Pacific, and on the east, the border of California. So we significantly diverted material from the landfill into a building product.
Oh, that's great. Now, it's no secret that in the past 10 years or so have been difficult for this industry, and that, you know, with municipalities having less money in their budgets to build new infrastructure, to maintain infrastructure, it's been tough on material suppliers and the construction industry. And so how have you you know, learned from that, or what challenges, or have you adapted your company to meet different needs? Or,
you know, we've had to change on several levels. First, geographically, there's areas that we serviced that are just completely dead. And so we have closed those operations. We no longer supply to them because they don't have a need. And what we're also doing is expanding our offering. Our offering before, and traditionally, and continues to be, a bulk product sold in the big 18-wheel trucks you see on the road. But we're also looking at different ways to package it in poly bags, or what they call super sacks, which are 1-ton sacks that can fit in the back of your pickup truck. And what that does is that gives the consumer access to a recycled green product that they never had before. So that is a
Yay.
new niche.
We were talking also a little bit about the sort of the mantra or the guiding principles behind your business, and you have these, your 8 core values, which is pretty neat for
Yes.
you wouldn't expect that, I guess. At least I wouldn't expect that from a business like this. But can you sum up the values that?
Well, the overlying thing is we want to be known as passionately innovating. And I think that's been our tradition. Being the first one to recycle and now being into these new markets. And everything with our values not only supports that, but also insists on a civility between each other and our customers. That is a core thing. Be responsive and react appropriately and solve their problems.
Do you see things improving at all, or maybe with the new tactics that you're taking, have things improved?
Well, I see with, for us, the expectations are not much of an improvement in the bulk market. Mm-hmm. That's probably going to remain slow for some time, and we're seeing, some action by the government with, different measures and programs. Those probably will not trickle down, at least in any immediate way, to the consumer and the home builder. That will put, public employees to work, but it isn't going to affect the private industry probably that much.
Do you have any piece of advice for someone who has their own business, maybe not necessarily in the same industry, but just someone who's has their own business, maybe a family business, and something that you can share with them?
The thing that I've taken out of going through this change in this economy is I define myself pretty narrowly as kind of a quirky industry. Fred Flintstone, mining. Every time you talk about it, people just shake their head. And you start getting a mindset that maybe you're not special, but you're unique, and that your problems are unique. And what I've discovered through networking and discussions is there's core problems that exist across all industry, and they're just flavored a little bit different. And there are solutions that you can reach to. Mm-hmm. You just have to tweak it a little bit to make it on point for yourself. So don't think you're so special that you can't pick up a good business book and get principles out of it that you can apply.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having us.
Well, thank you for the pleasure of meeting you and doing this. It's been
I appreciate
good
it.
Experience and fun. Thank you.
Same here. Thanks. If you could meet someone who's living or dead, who would it be?
Joshua Chamberlain.
Now, who is that?
He was a colonel at Gettysburg.
Oh.
And he was in charge of holding one of the flanks. He was from Maine.
So he was a Union colonel.
Yes. And he was basically given the charge, you hold this line, if you don't, we will lose. He had 200 men to start with. He was down to 80 and no ammunition. And the Confederates were mounting or whatever for a charge, and he told his men, fix bayonets, charge, with no ammo. And they couldn't believe the order, but they did it. When the Confederates saw that, they surrendered, and he saved the day.